All right, so you come back in. I hand sand. I just take one of these little pad sanders, and I'll start with this one right here. And all I'm going to do here is got to knock off those corners, knock off the rough edges. That's it. Okay, I'm not doing anything else to it because I'm going to get the rest of it after my painting's done. Okay? And half the time, you want to know the truth, I won't sand it at all till I get the black on it. I go through a lot of paper towels in my shop. All right. All right, so anybody that's also taken a Doug Fisher class knows what's happening next. India ink. Okay? And it's really cool to get on your hands. I never wear gloves. Use the same paintbrush every single time because this brush is worthless for anything else. I don't care how much you clean it, it is still, let's see which is going to be the best. Is it okay if I put it this way? Can you see it? Yeah. All right. Now, I start at the top. I don't put my brush in very deep. I start at the top. All right, now I put that much on. I'll put on more in a minute. Then I come down to the bottom because I've got the biggest part of the ink out of my brush. Because if you go to the bottom with a lot of ink in your brush, it bleeds right around the bottom, right around it, and it will ruin a top. And if you'll see, I'm going to airbrush this top, so I don't want the India ink on top. Or you'll end up sanding for 20 minutes on that. Okay, so now I have a little more in my brush. All right, I'm going to feed the feathers. All right, now I'm going to come back to the bottom, and I'll gauge how much ink is in that brush. And I'm coming against the bottom. I'll put this up here so you can see it. There's nothing bleeding underneath because I used a small amount at the bottom. I used more here. Don't ever put it back down in the same place or close to it because the ink will bleed across and it'll ruin the piece. And like I said, again, you've got a lot of sanding. I'm brushing my...
You can seal it.
Pardon?
You can seal the wood so that doesn't...
You can't seal it because I'm going to airbrush it. I'd have to sand my sealer off with a...
You can write over the sealer.
I guess you could.
Yeah.
I guess you could.
Works fine.
All right, so now I'm going to come in here. And you'll notice I'm getting it all the way down inside. I do want it black all the way in. I've had some that I lightly came on and I didn't care if the paint went all the way down inside because it gave me something more to take my airbrush paint. Because it depends on my coloring. And there I dripped, so I don't want that to get over there. All right, so now I come to the bottom again. No matter how many times I go across up here, it doesn't matter because I'm going to sand that off. I have not ever tried that. You might be able to, sure. I would not put this in my guns because I don't know how hard it'd be to clean out. It'd be a nightmare. Okay, so I'll only paint the one. And you can see I've got it pretty good. I can come back in here and touch up. What kind of sealer are you talking about using?
Sanding sealer?
Sanding sealer?
Sure.
All right. All right, so now I've got another feather painted. Like I said, this one will be okay. It's just not my favorite because I know the bottom's not as thick. Okay.
No way of telling that from looking at it.
No, and it doesn't feel it. You really got to hit it just right. Now I let this set overnight so that I can make sure my India ink is dry. Now's when I come back and I sand. And I'll start, I think this is probably 120, 150. And I'll sand this like this. Now I've knocked down my rough edges. I'm smoothing it so when it goes to be touched, it feels good. In fact, why don't we do that one right there, and that way we can. And this right here is a banding tool. Somebody asked me a while ago what that is. That's what they use in pottery to cut the foot off. Okay, so this has got the sharp edges still on it. This is not. And if I've got any unevenness, I can take it off with this. You could do it with a power sander, but you don't get the feel. You don't understand how your feel changes. Because now I'm right here on it. With a power sander, I could get too aggressive too quickly. When you're using somebody else's table like this, make sure you have a nice vacuum cleaner, because that black is yucky. Also, I vacuum myself off a lot, so just in case I'm going to get up later. All right. All right, now all I've done here is I've basically shaped the wood with this sander. That's what I've done here, okay? That's it. I've taken all the rough edges out. And now I can come in with, let's change this one. I use the larger 3M wheels. I'm sure a lot of you guys do too. Pardon? No. Okay. I'm going to sand only with the direction of my feather, because I don't want to ruin my feathers. And if you'll notice, I'm coming in, boy, that smells good. And I'm getting down in the little valley. I'm almost going to raw wood in a lot of places. You can see that raw wood. It's funny because it made me think of Al Sturt. Because remember how he would take walnut and he'd put milk paint on top of his wood. And that was my first thought. I thought, oh, that's interesting. Very similar effect. Wonder what would happen if you use milk paint. I just haven't tried it yet. Milk paint? No, this doesn't either if you use it by hand. Like I said, Doug Fisher would really be mean to us and make us do it all by hand the first time. And then he told us, oh, by the way, you can use power sanders if you want. So we took care of him. We told him all of our names were Bob. And we all got on name tags and put Bob on them. He still remembers that. I guarantee you. He thinks all Americans are named Bob. He's Canadian. Yeah, A. We gave him a little grief about that too. All right, so now I've gotten my feathers. I'll come across the top here, and I'll do the star. Make sure you get enough light. This one's a little rough. I'll change wheels in a second. You know what? Let me change this. I use some of these, and I don't know if I've got any. Yeah, that'll tell you about it. These are called. This is an MC14. They're just a little, like those, almost like a Brillo pad or something, I guess. They really work well up on top here. You've got to be careful using them. They're pretty aggressive when you use them down on the feathers because they will knock it off way too much. And this will buff it up really nice and smooth. Okay. All right, that's the extent of my sanding. All right. Let's airbrush that. Now when I'm doing these, I airbrush the whole thing yellow. Every bit of it first in yellow. And the reason I do that is because I'm trying to get it so I can get a little bit of blending in it. I don't, if this is a transparent yellow, my fingers are all bad. All right, so this particular one, if you notice the coloring on these with the black in there, it shows through. In a pomegranate, I decided that I wanted the yellow to show yellow. You cannot spray transparent yellow on this black wood and ever make it turn yellow. It will not happen. Okay? So I took a regular, and I didn't bring one, an opaque golden yellow, and I sprayed it, and it basically almost turned it green. The green that I did here, it has an undercoat of yellow. The red everything had an undercoat of yellow and transparent. And it gives it a green tint because of the burnt wood from carving it. So I came back in with the green and it worked well, and I came back in with a opaque yellow, and the opaque yellow still showed almost a green color. So I mixed it with white. And when I mixed it with the white, probably 10% white, I was able to get the coverage to give me the yellow. Because that's what I was trying to get, was the yellow color. Like I said, I was looking at a picture on the internet of not a pomegranate, mango, whatever it is. All right, so I'll come back in here and I'll hit the whole thing with yellow. Probably should have put more paint in it, but you're I'm really not doing a lot to the wood right now. It's obvious because I'm touching it, right? But I'm kind of basically filling in with the yellow. Okay, now I'm going to put it on a little bit heavier so that it actually is showing. And this one's going to have the greenish yellow on the outside. It's an airbrush, yeah, a little cheapy. You can buy them online everywhere. $200, and it's just so quiet. Probably.
Normally 40 or so.
No, 30.
30.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm getting a nice yellow base. Everything that came through that I sanded the India ink off of, I'm trying to make sure it shows a good yellow, because that's going to be my base coat. And I'm not going to mix white with this one because I'm not trying to get any special exterior on it, or exterior outside of the bowl. Okay, So it's hard to see from right now. The inside of this thing, now you can see this is from the last demo. I've already done a little bit of the color. I'll show you why the colors that are on it are there. Hey, remember, this wood almost has a yellow tint to it anyway. So it makes it real easy to come in with a yellow base. Okay. Now I'm going to come back. I've got a transparent green and I've got a permanent green. I like this particular one. It's called a permanent green light, and it's a pretty bright green, and so we'll use it.
What kind of dyes are those?
They're golden paints. I get them from Dick Blick. Unless I have points on Amazon, then I get them from Amazon. Okay. Now I'm paying a little bit more attention because what I've got now is not transparent. Whatever I put on is going to show. If I get it on my hand, again, it's not transparent. Now I'll come back and I'll highlight. I don't know if you can see that or not. I came down here. I've kind of got an even green, but I'm going to bring it down a couple of the grooves a little bit darker. Just be creative with it and have a little bit of fun. And then I can go ahead and blend in. And I won't make it all the same color. It won't all be the same, it'll shade. And that's the fun of airbrushing. So I can shade color. Okay. And I still have paint left in my cup. And on my finger. I'll mix them in the cup. I did not bring little sticks. Okay. All right, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to paint down my feathers. Where I came to an end, I'm sorry, I'm probably making that hard to keep moving it. Where the center of the feathers came together, it took the paint more. And that's good. Now feather off. This one I can see more yellow. I'll leave it a little more because it has more of the wood showing through. This one's got a lot more black showing through, so I might give it more green paint. But I don't want to give it too much because, again, I don't want everything to be a solid green color. When was the last time you saw anything that was the same like that? And my lines, you notice I quit doing this. I started that way because I wanted to get some of the thickness. And then I came down the grooves, and now I'm just coming and feathering up my feathers. All right, now I'll come back just with this color. And you'll notice that I did not concentrate at all on the star at the top. All it has on it is the overspray. I like it like that. I don't get too much color that way, and I'm happy there. All right? So let's see if I've got any lines that don't look good. Don't like that one. All right. Out of green paint, time to quit there. All right, now I've got the outside. It looks, oh, I don't know how you describe it. It's got a high and low. When I put lacquer on it, it'll even out the highs and lows. Okay? No, I actually just use the little rattle cans, as they call them, yeah.
Water-based or solvent-based?
I use all water-based. And this cleaner, I buy it in the little, it's a little jar about this big around, about that tall. The concentrate, and you just mix it with the water and fill these. These are those little bottles that you buy from online from anybody, you know. Okay. All right, now, depending on what I want to do to the inside of it, like remember, we primed it all with yellow, and so it's going to give us a little bit of an orange tint to it. If I put red on it, and I think I'll put red on this one. I've done airbrush red. Then I've come back with the inks, the guitar inks that, you know, you guys have seen Ben use. I think it's LMI. Those are really cool, but it's very bright, and you really have to put it on pretty evenly so that when the light shines, it looks like there's a light coming out of the inside of your bowl. It's a metal die. All right, but in this case, I'm going to use just a transparent red. Coming from the bottom up. If you sit there and you come down from the top and work your way to the bottom, you'll create air that'll push it back up, and your paint won't come on evenly. And so you'd have to decide how heavy you want to pull the trigger to decide how much is coming into the bottom of the bowl. Because if you push too hard and start, and then you keep starting at the bottom, your bottom's not going to match the sides. And if that's okay, it's no big deal. So sometimes I'll take and I'll start in the middle and then work my way out and circle it around. You see that a little bit? Okay. But I don't make it even. Again, if I'm using the metal dies, you have to. So I'm going to make this one kind of almost come up with a yellow stripe. Follow that grain around. Notice how pronounced the grain is in elm. Sometimes, other times it's pretty boring. But in this case, I'm going to follow it around. And it moves in a circle. I'm going to move in a circle too. Okay, so that gives me my red tint inside. All right, now I'm going to come on this edge, and you see how I did the demo before. This is where it gets real fun for a shaky-handed person. So you need to drink more, and that'll take care of that problem. You think I'm kidding? All right, so we're coming around the edge, and I'm going to pick up that red. If you ever looked into watermelon, it doesn't actually go from red on the inside to green on the outside. So if you'll notice, that's not a straight line. It's very feathered. I'm trying to get the paint, I'm aiming at that corner of the bowl. I'm not aiming at the top at all. If you were doing target practice, you'd see that my target is the edge of that bowl. You can see how that red paint, can you see how, is it showing the feathering of it going out? Okay. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm sorry. And since this is transparent paint, you can decide how thick you want it to go. If you were using an opaque, you wouldn't get a choice. It's all going to be red. Okay. That's all I want to put on the red. All right, now, on this one, I'm using a white paint next. When you use a white paint, there is no such thing as transparent white. It is opaque, and it will color, and it will make everything it touches white. And it also gums up your airbrush like crazy. I totally disassemble it and clean it, yeah. Yep, every time. All right, so now I'm going to come back, and now my target is the outside edge of the bowl. I'm trying to hit the outside of this rim. Okay? And the spray is light between the red and the green. You want to hurry up and get your white paint out because you're going to gum up that airbrush, trust me, a lot.
So was that dried pretty quickly?
It's just full, and I forgot to bring the medium. You never put much in the paint in your cup either because it will gum it up. Like I decided one time, why wait putting drops in? So I put a bunch in it and was spraying, and by the time I got halfway finished, I had to clean the whole thing out and start over. It was terrible. You know, I don't. I have one airbrush that's got a larger tip. I use it a little bit, but I don't spray enough of anything that it matters. This is the most I'll spray of any one color. And you're asking, why is he spraying white? Two reasons. One, I'm spraying white because I'm trying to get the real color of a melon, because it's going to blend from red to white to green. And then the other is I want my green to be pronounced on the top, and if I put white first, it will be. And I want to mute my red. If you saw, I just put on how heavy that white went on and how it dissipated. Okay, so I need to put more on at the edge. Come on. You can see my white's already gumming the machine up. Gun. That's what I usually, I forgot my medium. It's an airbrush medium. It's a thinner.
You can't do it with water.
You probably could, but I don't know how well it would mix. So I don't know why I left it at home. Okay. All right, now I'll come back with the green, and we'll be done. And we'll use the transparent green, not the opaque. Yeah, I almost did that wrong, didn't I? You caught that. One person, the whole place. Okay. Good. Hid that well. All right. This has a blue-green tint to it. Well, you saw it there, but you'll see it a little less here. The white is almost gone, but I gave me my base, and it shows just along the edge. And it feathered the red to the green. And you can use so many different colors. I mean, I started off doing all of them red with the green and yellow outside, trying to make them all a watermelon. And then I started making some of them pink on the inside just for fun. And then I started making some of them a bright red, yellow. It just kind of, they're a fun thing to make. My wife likes all of the colors in our house to match, so artwork to her has to be the same color as her decor. If there's other people like that, you can do that. You can say, well, they've got a blue house, give them a blue bowl. Okay. I've got just enough white showing. I've got just enough red showing. There we go. That is how I have my color. So you can, it's really just a fun way to airbrush. And if you've done Binh Pho airbrushing, it's extremely difficult. It's a lot of cutting. It's very intricate. This is very fun. It's very open. And if you make a mistake, nobody knows. I'll bet I made 20 and you guys have no clue. And I will never tell you. All right? Any questions on this?
What kind of brush?
It's, I use Iwata. I've tried, there's all kinds of off-brands that are very similar to the Iwata, and they all work great, but they don't work great very long. And these Iwatas are probably, the oldest one I've got now is probably 10 years old. Still works like it's brand new. And all of my capital airbrushes have stopped. So, and what I like to do when you guys have your raffle is we'll put this one in it. So, all right.